Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Memory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you our NFL Week 13 preview between the New York Giants and the Washington Redskins. Now let's take a look at some keys to victory for both teams, starting with the Giants.
Let's start with the Giants defense in this matchup. When you look at their defensive line and what they were able to do in the first meeting versus the Washington Redskins, it actually worked to perfection. These guys were able to set the edge. They didn't get out of position. They didn't get out of contain. They kept everything bottled in, tackle to tackle, and forced the running game to go inside to where their linebackers were making plays on the ball. If they're going to have any success this week versus the Redskins, they're going to have to duplicate that effort. And that's what's going to have to happen, because when you play in the Washington Redskins and the pressure that their offense puts on the defensive line, it forces you to lose your athleticism and play with discipline. And it also forces the linebackers to understand what they see and play downhill. If they can do that, then they definitely have a great chance to knock off the Redskins again. But let's go inside the lab and look at this Giants offense and see what they can do versus that 3-4 defense of the Redskins.
The New York Giants have to use the I formation and I formation principles in order to knock off the Washington Redskins. They had a lot of success in the first matchup doing this, and they were able to move the football. And this is why this is effective. You see right here we have the bunch formation, and what it does, it keeps the 3-4 defense condensed. And we've said this before, in every 3-4 defense, the reason why you want to get into those I formations or condensed formations out of I principles is because there's natural bubbles where you can run the football versus a 3-4. And the Giants were able to run inside versus the Washington Redskins. They were able to get the nose block and get the guards to the second level and allowing Bradshaw to get up the field. Even in the I formation, you can still do so. Why? Again, natural bubbles here. Natural bubbles to run the football, and you're able to get a big on big. That's body on body. That way you can effectively run the football downhill. The reason why the condensed formations are great versus a 3-4, with the Giants passing attack, they have guys that are capable of making one miss. Hakeem Nicks, and more importantly, Victor Cruz. So with the condensed formation, you allow yourself easy break-off routes, so you can easily run simple concept, streak, out combination, or curl out combination, get the ball here to Cruz, he'll make one miss. Or even on the condensed side, now you have your ability to run your tight end up the seam and your short in route to Victor Cruz or Hakeem Nicks. So that's why the Giants were able to have success versus this Redskins defense, utilizing I formation principles, whether it be running downhill out of the I or out of single back, or using those quick breaking routes to get the football in their receivers' hands so that way they can make one miss after the catch.
Now let's move over to the Redskins in this matchup. And when you look at Washington's defense, you look at the secondary having to communicate better this time around. During the first meeting, the Giants ran two types of routes. They ran clear routes down the hashes with those in routes breaking in right underneath it. If they're going to communicate and pass off coverages to other players, they have to understand that going in, and that way they could better position themselves to make plays on the ball. And a lot of times at their second level, the linebackers, they were beat by alignment. So you had London Fletcher on the inside having responsibilities to cover the flats. That can't happen this week, otherwise they're going to find themselves in the same types of situations. Let's go inside the lab and look at this Redskins offense to see what they can do versus the Giants defense and how that pistol puts a lot of pressure on opposing defenses.
The Washington Redskins offense puts a lot of pressure on opposing defenses because it dictates coverage and it calms your aggressiveness if you have aggressive defensive ends. And here's how they have it drawn up, and here's what they do versus teams. And this is what they did in the first meeting versus the New York Giants, which is why they were able to move the football downfield. Pistol formation, you have your quarterback at 3.5 yards deep. You have your fullback or tight end. They get creative. They put an H-back. They put a receiver here. They can put a receiver there in the backfield. They get creative with their formations, but this is how it's basically set up. You have your tight end right here, receiver, all within striking distance. You want to keep it tight, almost outside of the hash. So these guys are 3 by 1, 3 yards off, 1 yard back, 3 yards off. So that way you keep it condensed. One, it gives the offense better blocking angles to get these guys out there on the edges, or if you want to seal block on the end or linebacker, it puts you in position right here, and it also allows for the movement of the guys behind this. Now, what they did against the Giants, they ran their basic, let's say they brought this guy over in motion, ran up here, they ran it here. Linebackers are here meeting the O-lineman at the hole, stopping the run, just getting minimal gains like 3 and 4 yards. So the Giants did a good job in the first meeting, but what started to happen, Now you're starting to worry about the running game. Now you're starting to worry about the running game, and it puts these guys in a bind. So now at the snap of the ball, they're attacking downhill and allowing guys to run up the seam. And now the pop pass is open. We call it a pop pass because it's that quick. You got to snap, catch, pop, tight end is right there wide open. And so what starts to happen is you're going to say, okay, we're going to better defend versus this pop pass. We're going to walk down this safety. And we don't want to, because essentially we're in cover 2. We don't want to turn our back to Robert Griffin III. Why? Because he's a mobile quarterback and he can get outside and make things happen. So what the Giants did was they went to more of a cover 3 look. So they're going to move this safety to the middle and they're going to ask these receivers to cover their deep thirds. The problem with that is now the receivers have the advantage because they have the leverage. So let's say you run this tight end on a quick out, it pulls the strong safety, receivers work on the inside. Now you have all of this void for RG3 to get the football to. So that's why the pistol offense puts a lot of pressure, because it made the Giants go from a cover 2 to a cover 3, and that's when the passing game started to flourish. So if the Giants are trying to game plan versus the Washington Redskins, it's like playing Russian roulette with a shotgun. You don't have a chance. Why? Because RG3 is special. The Redskins offense causes a lot of problems, and they can have a lot more success this week versus the New York Giants.
The linebackers will have to be X factors for the Giants in this ball game. During the first matchup, they got caught looking in the backfield a lot, and that resulted in pass plays being completed just over their heads. They can't have that this week. For the Redskins, it's going to be RG3. The adjustments that he's going to make in the second game. Remember, this is the first time he's facing an opponent for the second time, so he's going to have to adjust to what he saw in the first meeting versus the Giants in order to have some success. Now, here are some of my coaching points for both teams in this matchup. For the Giants, they have to win on first down defensively. You want the Redskins in second and long and third and long situations. And also say no to cover 3. Stay out of cover 3. Stay in zone defense. That way you can keep everything in front of you and put a lot of pressure on your defensive line to make plays. Good thing about it, the Giants do have a lot of talent up front. And you want to feature David Wilson. He gives you much more explosiveness out of the backfield than Ahmad Bradshaw, who's hobbled right now. So feature David Wilson to give the Redskins something they didn't see in the first meeting. For Washington, team discipline. You got to stay disciplined in your coverages, understand your assignments, and communicate as well. And on offense, you have to use the whole field. Force the Giants to cover every blade of grass. Don't play tackle to tackle in the running game. Get outside. Even if the toss sweep isn't working, find creative ways to get to the perimeter in the running game, and also stretching the football field vertically as well as horizontally in the passing game. I like the Redskins in this ball game. When you look at the first meeting, you saw what the Redskins were able to make the Giants do. That was be less aggressive. They made them think. Anytime you get a defense to think out there on the field, you have an advantage as an offense, and that's the pressure that the pistol puts on opposing defenses. Now the secondary looks to be a little bit better, and they can compete a little bit more. Plus, the Giants are coming in a little bit injured. I look for the Redskins to take full advantage of the ground game, and the secondary will make some plays on the ball. I look for them to win this one at home. And I want to give a huge shout out to Redskin fan forums and Giant fan forums for always showing football game plan support.